Wolf Pack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com, we breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with 10 players rocketing up my rankings. Been tracking everything in training camp so far, all the news, the buzz, the injuries. Plus, we've got some preseason action under our belts. Let's dive right into 10 players who are rocketing up the rankings. Of course, humble brag, but I was number 6 in 2024 accuracy, number 2 in multi-year accuracy. I think a big part of it is because we keep track of these notes and we don't underreact, overreact. We try to hit that exact what do we need to do with these news and nuggets. Starting with the Chargers backfield, Omarion Hampton rising up, rocketing up from a kind of 4th round pick for me, was high on the guy all the way up to, as you can see here, if you're watching the stream, 28th on the big board overall, shooting up the ranks, plus 15 ECR on Hampton. And I already loved Hampton coming in, an athletic freak in terms of a size, speed monster at the running back position. He recorded a 9.78 RAS score as he ripped off a 4.46 40 at 221 pounds. But more importantly, a 3-down skill set, a phenomenal receiver. Ultimately, as a sophomore, breaking out 253 carries, 1,504 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns, and then also had 222 receiving yards and a touchdown over 13 games. Insane. And he continued even without Drake Maye there at North Carolina, had 281 carries, 1,660 yards, 15 touchdowns on the ground, in addition to now upping those receiving totals to 373 and 2 touchdowns there. 138.3 rushing yards per game, led all power conference running backs last year. Best season of any power conference running back in this entire stacked 2025 class. And put him in some elite company in terms of any backs that have averaged 130 rushing and 30 receiving. Only Eddie George, Reggie Bush, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Scatterbo, and Hampton have pulled that off. So that is some impressive company to be a part of. This is all just to paint the picture of a prospect. Why is he rocketing up the rankings? Already was in a great spot with the Chargers, top 10 overall offense, top 10 line, although we'll see what happened with Rashawn Slater. Doesn't look great there ultimately right now. But either way, you get a Greg Roman scheme that has been top 5 in rush attempts in 9 out of 11 seasons, top 10 quarterback to keep boxes light. The math seems simple. Loved everything about this guy coming in. Was already a high 4th rounder for me, but then we have Najee Harris blowing up an eye with fireworks. I don't make 0 sense to me, but he still has not practiced, might miss all of training camp at this point. This is also a new player on this team, essentially not a rookie, of course, Najee Harris, but you have to learn the playbook. You have to get your timing down, and he has not been able to get on the field. So Hampton has been running with the ones and absolutely thriving. Quote, Greg Roman calling him a game-changing talent, the clear lead back according to The Athletic so far. Greg Roman also saying he looks even faster with pads on. Absolutely thrilled with this rookie. So love the talent, love the team, and love the fact that the only real negative was it might take him a little while to win this job. Veteran deference going to Najee Harris, something of that nature. No, we can toss that out the window. Hampton, it should be the day 1 starter, a freakish talent in a great offensive environment for fantasy production. No need to overthink this one. If he's there in round 3, oh, what a steal that could be. You can go CeeDee Lamb, Jonathan Taylor, Hampton. Maybe he's still falling around 4, though, by the time you're drafting. We shall see. Either way, rocketed up my rankings. Absolutely thrilled to have him. Another running back that is climbing very fast is Tank Bigsby. Now, the Jags backfield, definitely one of those ambiguous backfields I am targeting. It's where I expect the next Bucky Irving to come from because Liam Cohen, the previous Bucs play caller, top 5 in expected points to running backs last year, a phenomenal screen game, great spacing with that zone blocking scheme as well. Just created tons of great opportunities, layup chances for his backs. And so for originally, I thought it was going to be Bigsby Tootin. I still love him as a stab. I think by the end of the season, he might be the back you want the most. But ultimately, Tank Bigsby right now is looking like the real answer according to these early training camp reports. I love how in-depth we have gotten for training camp reports. We have a Jags beat writer logging every single snap with Trevor Lawrence, and every single day, it seems that Tank Bigsby is at the top of that list. He's getting 2-minute work. He's been the top goal line guy. Yes, Travis Etienne is working in. There's even been a quote in the last few days where Liam Cohen said, I'd like all 4 of our guys, in addition to Etienne, Tootin, of course, Bigsby, who we're talking about, and also LaQuint Allen, who led the NCAA in receptions for running backs last year. So we're talking about a 4-headed nightmare. Yeah, it might be hard to ultimately sift a ton of value for, but again, that's why all their prices are 100 or later, with Bigsby previously being the cheapest of all of them, other than LaQuint Allen, no one's talking about. But Bigsby had been going last among all these big 3 starters here, and it seems like he's going to be the first one getting the crack. And why do I think he's going to be a great fit? Well, what made Bucky Irving so special? Of course, he's just a rushing talent. The guy's insane. He's got good anticipation, vision, but he also is phenomenal at missed tackles forced running through contact. That is what Cohen values and loves. That's what he saw in Bigsby Tootin. That's why he drafted him. But Tank Bigsby last year actually led all running backs in yards after contact per attempt. He tied Bucky Irving with 13 runs of 10-plus yards after contact, but he had 39 fewer attempts there among running backs with 150 attempts. So listen to some of this efficiency from Tank Bigsby, which again, 70% of his yards came after contact too. Insane right there. Only he and Ken Walker achieved that among running backs. But then you look at some of these other metrics. He was 10th in 10-plus run yard percentage, explosive run rate, 16th and 15-plus yard run, 5th in PFF elusive rating, 12th in missed tackles total force, 5th in missed tackle force per attempt, and 9th in next-gen rush yards over expectation. So all these rushing metrics that point to, is this guy good? Is this guy explosive? Yeah, he checks all of those boxes. And so given that he's going to be likely the opening day starter, I am rocketing Tank Bigsby up the rankings here. I'll show you guys. I should have just switched this right from the jump up to 122. And it looks like I'm still actually below ECR. So I want to be right at market at minimum, if not higher. Probably going to get another bump, but he originally was in the 150s or so. So about a 30 spot rise for Tank Bigsby. As you can see, I do have Bigsby Tootin right there as well. He's the one that's more of the value at this point, late season upside. But I do think Tank Bigsby could give you some early season. And again, with that efficiency, I think you have a real shot at some upside. Got some questions and comments coming in. Love to see it. I will definitely have an open mailbag. Going to get through these 10 names first, but keep them coming. And any thumbs up if you enjoy the content that you're seeing. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate your support to the channel. Any likes and subscriptions go such a long way. And now I'm going to pull in our number 3 riser. Again, another running back here. And he is none other than Jacory Croskey-Merritt, the exciting rookie here for the Washington Commanders. As you can see, a whopping plus 126 ECR. So he's not very much on anybody's radar, at least in the Fantasy Pros ranking community. But I am obsessed with this kid. I got a nose for these sleepers. I called Bucky Irving last year. I called Kyron Williams the year before. I think it was Jeff Wilson the year before that when he became the starting running back for the 49ers. Not going quite yet to giving him the stamp of approval with Jacory Croskey-Merritt. I'm just saying I'm catching some whiffs of the next Bucky Irving here. Ultimately, he is just absolutely crushing it right now. I actually talked about him on a previous show where we talked about our favorite rookie sleepers for dynasty leagues. Me and Tanner went back and forth. So I've been on this guy since May, and now we're starting to see him pop up. But why did I like him all the way back then, despite him being a 6th-round pick, not having a senior college season? Well, because the fit in the zone blocking scheme for the Commanders is absolute perfection. This one came from Jacob Gibbs, one of my favorite analysts to follow. He does a lot in terms of blocking scheme and talent fit. In this quote, a massive 51% of Croskey-Merritt's collegiate attempts came on inside zone, and only RJ Harvey had a higher rate from this class. And Jacory Croskey-Merritt's 7.2 yards per inside zone attempt, insane, actually was the best in the class. It beat out Harvey on this. And why is that important? Because the Kingsbury-led Commanders, they run inside zone at the 3rd highest rate in the league. This is just a rushing skill set and blocking scheme fit that looks perfect. And so far in camp, he has been the star. He's starting to get burned with Jaden Daniels in no huddle session. So clearly they trust him as a pass protector, pass catcher. He's jumping off the screen, according to Scott Abraham, saying explosive, runs violently, fast feet. And you see any of these clips, he is zipping all over the place. And so I look at the depth chart, and just like what we saw with Bucky Irving, Yeah, Brian Robinson's fine. Rashad White was fine, but he's nothing special. Austin Eckler is going to be 30 years old, third down specialist at best. And so we got this fragile backfield, but a phenomenal overall environment in that the line is top 15, in that they're projected to score the fifth most points by Vegas after scoring the fifth most points last year. So if and when Jacory Croskey-Merritt gets his chance, he's going to be in a very fertile environment for fantasy points. And I think he is going to feast in this situation. So I really, really like this rookie running back. Not officially stamped yet as the next Bucky Irving, but man, I'm getting those whiffs. I'm getting close. And by the end of the preseason, if we see this hype continue, he could be officially getting that stamp as the rookie that I have to take. And so I am chasing him up draft boards in these best ball drafts as well. Moving away from the running back risers, we have a tight end that I am super excited about here that I want to make sure is on everyone's radar is Tyler Warren. Up at 91, he has jumped over 25 spots in my rankings, and I am now clearly plus 30 ECR on Tyler Warren here, the next riser on this list. And yes, I get it. He's not Brock Bowers. Really, nobody is in terms of a prospect, but we're talking about an insane 2024 college season, one of the best in history among tight ends. 104 catches on 135 targets, 1,233 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Oh, and 26 carries for 218 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. 1,451 yards from scrimmage, the most by a tight end in a power conference of all time. 400 more than Brock Bowers' best 2022, who he's also the next closest. Receptions and targets first, first downs first, 40 snaps at running back, quarterback, wide, inline slot. This guy is a move around freak that is just he can be your offense. He can be your centerpiece. You can build the plane out of them. And that's exactly what Penn State did his senior season. And it sounds like that's what the Colts are doing right now in training camp. All the beats are saying he's targeted more than any of the receivers by both quarterbacks, showing a phenomenal rapport, by whether it's Richardson, whether it's Daniel Jones. Now, of course, I do prefer Daniel Jones, which already is concerned if you're preferring Daniel Jones as a quarterback, but he is more accurate than Anthony Richardson. But ultimately, it does seem like Richardson might win the job, though he hurt his pinky. Who knows what's going to happen there? It's not going to be a great quarterback situation either way, but it does seem like he is going to be the clear security blanket. You just hear some of these quotes, and I'll just give you a bit of a snippet, whether it's the GM, the head coach, Shane Steichen, whether it's Jim Bob Cooter, one of my favorite names in the league at offensive coordinator. Everybody is gushing about this guy. He can do it all. He plays multiple spots. Great 50-50 ball catcher. This is the GM here, Chris Ballard. Violent after the catch, element of toughness that I think we needed to add. There's a uniqueness that Shane Steichen will find ways to use him. Hands are rare. Thought he had the best hands of any player in this draft. A unique dude who's going to be able to handle a lot of volume for whatever we ask. Love the word volume in my players. Shane Steichen, Tyler Warren can do it all. Physical with the ball in his hands, gets yak, lays the wood on you. Oh, yeah. He'll hurdle you. He's going to bring a lot to our team. Big target who plays above the rim. When guys are on him, he's still open. We'll have some fun things to do with Tyler Warren. Very smart, picks things up quickly, phenomenal so far. Great movement skills, great feel, great instincts. And then Jim Bob Cooter. We're putting a lot on Warren's plate. I think he's going to be a very versatile piece for us. Going to move him around, bunch of different stuff with him, bunch of shots to different aspects of playing offensive football. So all the common trends here. Versatile, does it all, can move him around. Sounds again like the Penn State way of building the plane out of an offense. And if the early preseason, I'll admit it, no Josh Downs, no Michael Pittman. We can't look too much into this, but they played one of the first games of the preseason. He played 20 of 20 snaps with the starters, ran nearly every single route, logged a 30% target share, caught all 3 of his targets, 3 catches, 40 yards, ultimately had a 4th catch on a 7-yard gain, negated, all in a quarter of action. 4 catches, 47 yards. I'll take that. He was a bull with the ball in his hand as promised by the GM. And so to me, I love Tyler Warren. As you can see, 91 overall. I have him above Mark Andrews now at this point. And if I miss out on George Kittle, Brock Bowers, the guys that I really want, the Trey McBrides, right? The big 3 of tight ends. That's where I am trying to get the majority of my tight end. I think it's just a huge edge. But should I miss, I'd rather wait till you can see, as far as I have him at 91, you don't have to draft him till the 120s, right? You don't pay more than just because you value it more. You don't have to pay more if that's not the price. And so ultimately, if I miss on those elite, I love that pocket of Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, but specifically Warren right now, just as the higher volume create just layup looks. I think it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful season, even if the quarterback play isn't great. So I love Tyler Warren there, and he is rising up fast with all of this preseason hype and the way he is thriving and emerging as the true number one. Alrighty. And folks, you'll have to excuse my homerism here because the next biggest riser, not far below Tyler Warren there, is Drake Maye, rocketing up the quarterback rankings, is now my number 8 quarterback ahead of Patrick Mahomes. That's right. I'd rather have Drake Maye in fantasy over Patrick Mahomes. And it might seem insane, but I went to Patriots camp on Wednesday, and to put too much stock into practice, I understand would be nuts. But it's just the Pats are back. You had Vrabel diving into a scrum and bleeding. You had Drake Maye absolutely carving up the Commanders. And what I really liked and what I noted was the offense was just so smooth with Josh McDaniels back at the helm. Last year, everything was so forced and difficult and jump balls, and it's just a painful system. This week, the receivers were running wide open, the tight ends down the seam. There was just time and time again, chunk play after chunk play. They completely gashed the Commanders. In red zone work, about 12 total plays for the 11-11 red zone work. Drake Maye had 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. I believe he completed all but 3 balls, 11 for 14 is what I had him at. Just looking insane. And some of the throws, I mean, there was this back shoulder throw to Booty. You can find it on my Twitter feed. That timing, anticipation is a throw that only elite quarterbacks can make. So we got that elite arm strength. The guy can wing it down the field. He can make the tight anticipation throws, but also an offense looking so much smoother that he's not going to have to rely only on that because of how many layup opportunities McDaniels is going to create for him. And then you got the fact that the line was holding up really well. Will Campbell didn't allow a single pressure on the day. I know he can only go so far, but still, you were talking dead last in terms of line ranking last year. Even if they get to 20th, that is a huge leap. And he certainly had the cleanest pocket that I've ever seen Maye perform with. And all that going against him last year. I mean, you talk about his top weapon was Pop Douglas. We're going to talk about it in just a second. My God, he looked good. Yeah, I like Pop Douglas, but behind him, he had no one to throw to. Now you add Stephon Diggs. You drafted an explosive receiver in Kyle Williams. You'll get Travion Henderson. He had some real pop throughout the camp practices as well. Weapons cabinet, huge upgrade. Line, huge upgrade. Play calling, huge upgrade. Even without those upgrades, last year, Drake Maye in his full games averaged 18.7 fantasy points per game, was the quarterback 11 on those numbers. And he also had a game with the Jets. He had 11 points in the first quarter. He was going insane. So that number could probably be even higher had he made it through that game. And so now you add on all those improvements. You take a natural year 2 leap. You got to expect he's getting close to that 20 fantasy points per game numbers. And the other big thing, too, of course, bury a lead here, is that he can run the ball. And we had Josh Allen with Cam Newton call a career-high 9.1 rush attempts for Cam Newton per game. And I'm not saying he's going to use him like Cam Newton. No way. You don't want him taking that many hits. But he did know he's got great size, according to Josh McDaniels, great, really athletic. Is he going to be a bit of a runner like Josh Allen was in Buffalo? I don't know if he's going to do that or not. We'll find out, is what Josh McDaniels said when he got rehired here and asked about what intrigues him. So I think a little bit of that Konami upside, the fantasy point stat that I have on him, which is absolutely insane, is he was highest yards per carry among quarterback ball carriers. He added a great amount of rushing points. So it's right here, 0.1 fantasy points per game on designed runs compared to, of course, Jaden Daniels, all at 3.5 plus, Josh Allen at 3.5 plus designed runs per game. Jalen Hurts was 7.4. So the leader in yards per carry last year was at 0.1 designed runs, looked phenomenal on his scrambles, added some rushing points. But you imagine if you get a little bit more designed, we saw a designed red zone touchdown for Drake Maye in that red zone work as well. So 18.7 points per game, the floor, when everything else around him has improved dramatically. I'll tell you right now, even if you don't buy the draft guide, Drake Maye is my quarterback of the year in terms of value. You have to have this guy. He has rocketed up the rankings. Maybe my homerism is coming through a little too hard, but I'm in love. I think he's going to go bananas and be that. I don't have quite the conviction. You guys who watched last year, Jaden Daniels was my guy. I said you have to hit him in every draft. I'm not quite like that much of a lock. This guy's going to blow up and this is an insane value. But if anyone's going to beat him, it is definitely Drake Maye. And I'll tell you, I saw Drake Maye versus Jaden Daniels firsthand, and it was one practice. Drake Maye looked 10 times better. it was phenomenal to see. So Drake Maye, a massive riser and the quarterback I am hammering in all my drafts. If I like Drake Maye, it would make sense that I like some of his weapons, and nobody has risen more than DeMario Douglas for me in terms of Patriots love, in terms of fantasy love. This guy looked phenomenal. All the reports in Beat Camp where Douglas has been, according to Taylor Kyler's, DeMario Douglas has been the Patriots' best pass catcher. It isn't close. He looks more comfortable than ever under Josh McDaniels, consistently getting open, catching everything thrown his way, quickly becoming Drake Maye's top target. And I was like, okay, you have Stephon Diggs, you have this exciting rookie. There's no way. DeMario Douglas is a fine talent, looks good last year, good guy. Yeah, right. But he's not going to be the true number one. And I was at camp, and it was just layup look after layup look. He completely was gashing the Commanders. He had more zip than I ever saw last year. Every catch was, caught it like 7 yards or so and zipping up the field with nobody there. There was one where he could have truly outran the entire defense for 70 yards if it was a live game. Looked absolutely phenomenal. The way I charted it, I believe he had 4 of Drake Maye's first 11 targets, 45-plus yards through 4 drives. And he had 1 bad drop as well. He probably would have been up to 60 yards in 4 drives of action there. And so I absolutely love this guy. Drake Maye commenting, you can't guard him in a phone booth. Vrabel saying, I love his attitude. I love the person. I love his spirit. He loves to practice. He loves this game. So he's a clear starter. He was out there every single snap with the number ones, playing well ahead of Kyle Williams, the clear slot guy. You don't need me to spell out the success of Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, the guys that are always in motion and finding those easy layup looks, those soft spots of the defense. That's what we saw all day from DeMario Douglas. And so he has risen quite fast up my rankings, up to 129 overall, 40 spots ahead of the ECR, 81 spots ahead of where he's getting drafted. My new favorite sleeper wide receiver to draft, DeMario Douglas. We're going to just take one quick pause to just suggest, guys, if you like these sleepers, you like these risers, all of this is going to be tracked in my 2025 draft guide as well. Sure, all the rankings at RoastRejournal.com, free as always. I keep 99% of the stuff we do free because I love this stuff. I just do it out of passion. But you can support. I got a child going through daycare next year, my first baby involved. And if you want to support your boy, I just dropped the 2025 draft guide over at RotoStreetJournal.com. Over 200 players broken down. And again, penny stock sleepers, league winners, all of that, the ultimate strategy for 2025, all the data from last year. What is the ideal? Should you go early receiver, early running back after the big resurgence? Or is it a little bit of fool's gold? Who knows? Except the draft guide knows. So if you want some of this detailed, it's updated all summer as well, delivered to your inbox, $25 over at RotoStreetJournal.com would mean the world if you consider supporting your guy. If not, the rankings are free on the website either way, and you can get all you need to dominate. But this will give you everything, the game theory, the targets round by round, who are the best picks, the worst picks. And like I mentioned, I was top 10 in 2024 accuracy and number 2 in the last 3 years, multi-year accuracy, according to Fantasy Pros, which I don't take lightly. I think that is a very humbled, very proud of that accomplishment. And if you want to get inside my fantasy soul, the draft guide is now on sale, and your support would mean so much. So thank you so much for considering it here. But let's dive right back on into the number 7 riser on my rankings here. And that is going to be none other than Ricky Pearsall for the 49ers, flying up my draft guide and rankings right now. Juwan Jennings still out with a calf injury. There's no timetable on his return. We saw last year with Christian McCaffrey. Oh, it's nothing to worry about. Oh, really? Nothing to worry about. The reporting out of San Fran is always terrifying to me. Yeah, Jennings also lobbying for a new contract. So maybe it's a non-contract injury. Maybe it's a non-contact injury. Who knows what is going on here? But for right now, Ricky Pearsall is the one taking advantage of it because you got Brandon Ayuk out. You have Deebo Samuel gone. And, of course, George Kittle, who I love. One of my best picks in fantasy this year. But if you want to go even later and target some upside, Ricky Pearsall is going outside the top 100, and I think he's going to be getting picked in the top 50 at this time next year. Now, I know the rookie year was a bit disappointing, but when he closed it out, they finally were like, man, let's see what we have in this kid. There's enough injuries piling up. Let's give our round 1 rookie a chance. Now, let's just pause it. Round 1 rookie for Kyle Shanahan when they had a bevy of talent at the position last year, a luxury pick. Tells you how much the guy thinks about him. And anything that Kyle Shanahan believes in terms of offensive talent, I want to pay attention to. And so ultimately, we saw some glimpses of what they might have seen. And we got to give this guy a little bit of forgiveness for a slow start. He got shot and ultimately fought back, like got whatever was being stolen from him back and all that dog. You got that going for him. But he took a while to recover, and understandably so. When we finally got the real glimpses of him, those last couple games of the season, he goes 10 targets, 8 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown against the Lions, 28 fantasy points. Follows that up with 8 targets, 6 catches, 69 yards, and another score, ultimately getting that tryout and really showing, yeah, I can be that alpha. And so far in camp, you got Brock Purdy saying he's playing Ricky Pearsall much more in the system. He's not freelancing. He's there when I need him to be. Just the second-year step, you cannot say enough. All the beat writers saying, 5 targets, 5 catches, the most active pass catcher in the day. And I just see an offense that no matter who's in there is going to be right around 28 to 30 points a game. And it's just a matter of who's the ones that are going to be eating at this Kyle Shanahan table. And right now, it seems like Ricky Pearsall is going to be the clear, at least number 2. You got Kittle, you got CMC, so maybe he's number 3. But that's still plenty of value if you're the number 3 target in this offense. And so I love Ricky Pearsall. Wide receiver 5 over those final 2 games. If he picks up where he left off, you're going to be getting yourself a fantasy steal. And with these positive camp reports with Juwan Jennings, who was kind of my guy for early offseason, love Juwan Jennings. If he gets healthy, he's out there. I actually probably prefer Jennings. But for right now, with Jennings on the sideline, with Pearsall thriving, I bumped Pearsall ahead of Jennings, and he is screaming up the rankings in an absolute bargain. Like you see here, I'm 32 spots above the ADP on Pearsall right now. Another guy sprinting up the rankings, Braelon Allen. We have the Athletics speculating the Jets will lead the NFL in carries in a Lions-inspired attack, with Aaron Glenn coming over from Detroit. And all the speculation so far is he's going to be Braelon Allen, the David Montgomery. Everyone calling him the star of camp. Unfair how fast this guy moves at his size. I mean, we're talking about a 240-pound beast that actually has speed and is bulldozing people. We had the Packers player even compare him to Derrick Henry, the way that this guy was running in joint practices the other day, which you'd love to see. Now, if he does get that David Montgomery role, let's talk about how valued that's been these last 3 years in the Lions offense. 17 touchdowns in 2022 for Jamal Williams, 13 touchdowns in 14 games for David Montgomery, and 12 touchdowns in 14 games for Montgomery across the last 3 years. So 12, 13, and 12 touchdowns, 17, 13, 12 rather, for the big back in this offense. And we have Aaron Glenn saying, Braelon is a 240-pound man that's always falling forward. That's where he's going to make his money. It's going to weigh on defensive players. So they're already saying it's a 1A, 1B situation. You have the elite handcuff upside to Breece Hall as well if he suffers an injury. And now there's rumors that maybe Breece Hall to the Cowboys? That would be juicy as anything. But that would also clear a path for Braelon Allen. He'd be screaming up to like the round 5. So I'm going to keep taking him right now in the 130s, 140s. You can see, let me just pull up in the rankings where he is right now. 138, so plus 18. I routinely take him. He'd go like 150, 160 in best ball drafts. An absolute hammer pick. Size, speed, nightmare. Great sleeper at running back for contingency. We talk about handcuff with benefits, right? You can't ask for a bigger one in terms of touchdown contingency, in terms of handcuff contingency. This guy has a ton going for him. 3 more players bringing up next. Josh Palmer turning over to the Bills here, and I am plus 80 on the ADP on Josh Palmer, who is sprinting up the rankings. At first, it was just the positive reports, like, quote, target magnet for Josh Allen. And that's what I expected him to be. He's a smooth route runner. He's always where he needs to be. He's a smart, savvy guy that is never blown up, but has always been reliable moving the chains. And that's exactly what he's done. We had the Athletics, Joe Bashulia, speculating that he would lead the Bills in snaps for receivers because he can block, because he can be reliable in every facet of the game. And so far in camp, every single positive report has come true. Him and Allen have shown a tremendous rapport early on. They're staying late at practice to work on it. You see it even if you watch Hard Knocks there. And meanwhile, you got Curtis Samuel struggling with injuries. You got Keon Coleman with maddening inconsistency, according to those beat reports. Probably the highest upside guy here, sure, Keon Coleman. But right now, Palmer is the steady Eddie, especially because, and why he's risen even more, Khalil Shakir suffered a high ankle sprain. He's week to week. They're tentatively expecting him back for week 1, but he's had an injury to this ankle before. He's a slot receiver that relies on his shiftiness. high risk of re-injury. And so at this point, Palmer has even more of a runway to establish that rapport, to build that buzz with Josh Allen as he has been, and potentially come out of this camp as the true number one for one of the best quarterbacks, maybe the best quarterback in the league right now. So Josh Palmer screaming up the rankings. But a bonus sleeper, even a deeper sleeper for you folks, is Tory Horton, who's another one of those guys plus 124 on him. One of the best sleepers, I think, in this entire class at receiver. A freak athlete here. Ultimately ran a 4.41 40 at 6'2", and said that he wasn't even fully healthy for this, that he believes he's faster. Nonetheless, that clocked out at a 9.83 RAS score, ranking top 15 all-time among 3,408 receivers, 99th percentile athlete that thrived early on, sophomore year, 71 catches, 1,131 yards, 8 touchdowns. Then goes 96 catches, 1,136 yards, and 8 touchdowns the next year. Then got hurt as a senior before entering the draft. But a lot of people praising him so far in camp. Smooth route runner, incredibly great deep artist down the field. His teammates have been calling him Little Jerry Rice so far in camp. And he's been getting a ton of burn with the ones. This is a run-heavy scheme under Kubiak, yes. But we saw last year with the Saints, like MVS had multiple 20-point days when he got signed like mid-season because of how valuable the deep shots are. They need to stretch the safeties and keep them honest so the run game can thrive. And Tory Horton is right now looking potentially like the clear number. I shouldn't say clear. He's still mixing in, but he is very much emerging. He's running with the ones. He's an athletic freak. And I think there is a ton of upside here based on what we're seeing. And we saw in the preseason last night, leads the Seahawks in targets, 7 catches, 3 yards, 31, and scores a touchdown as well. Yes, he's playing with the twos because all the starters rested, so that is slightly concerning. But at this point, we're talking about a fifth-round rookie. They want to get him out there, see what he can do in real live action, and all he did was show, yeah, I should be here. I should be thriving with the first team. And I'm just going to toss in one bonus one. I know I said 10, but hey, you people deserve a bonus here, and that's Keaton Mitchell. I have this guy in my draft guide as one of my penny stocks. There's over 30 penny stocks in there. Already had him in there because all the camp reports were he's back to what he was his rookie year. Keaton saying, I feel like I'm back when I first got here, even more explosive than that. He says he clocked reportedly in camp a 22-mile-per-hour run, which is faster than any speed anybody tracked last year at the running back position. We're talking about a guy in college for Keaton Mitchell before he came in and had a very impressive rookie season. He led college football in 15-plus yard runs. He finished with a 7.2 collegiate yards per carry, 94th percentile. Capable receiver, 8.9% target share there. And then he enters the NFL, and it comes out of Coastal Carolina. Has got to actually translate. Yeah, 8.4 yards per carry his rookie season, led the entire NFL. He turned 47 carries into 396 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1.2 fantasy points per opportunity, ranked second. And he and Devon Achane were just trading blows as the most explosive guys. He trailed only 47 carries. That's insane. Only 47 carries. He trailed only Devon Achane and Breece Hall in 40-plus yard runs. That is insane because he only had 47 carries and he was number 3 in the NFL in 40-yard runs. 15% of his runs at the NFL level have gone for 10 or more yards. He was averaging 11.3 fantasy points per game and nearly 12 yards per reception as well. So he had that knee injury last year. It didn't look at all like himself, but by all accounts, Keaton Mitchell is fully back. And so you can see him right down here, plus 130 ECR. You go out and see it last night in the first preseason action. Starts the game. Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, they're getting rested. But ultimately, Mitchell plays 75% of the snaps, sees 60% of the routes, and 71% of the carries with the first team. And what does he do with them? He rips off back-to-back 20-yard runs, 23 and 22, the last one being a touchdown. Ultimately, he rips up 9 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown, right back into those 7.56 yards per carry. Yes, is there going to be any value with Derrick Henry there? Probably not. But you're talking about one of the most exciting handcuffs. If anything should happen to Derrick Henry, I think Keaton Mitchell would be getting ranked not too far off from like Devon Achane and those insane backs, because this offensive run game is so good, and he is so explosive that Keaton Mitchell is someone you have to have on your radar. Alrighty, folks, 34 minutes in, we ripped through 10 of the biggest risers here for you in that. All of that, of course, is tracked in the draft guide update log. All of those, of course, are going to be in the rankings updates as well. I am going to join. I'm going to pull up the questions here and do a quick Q&A as I also then load up a fantasy draft as well so that we can kind of see how this is playing out. But thank you again so much as I'm getting this set. If you would like the video, if you enjoy it, please hit that thumbs up button. Please consider hitting subscribe. You can find me at RotoStreetWolf, and you can find all of my content at rotostreetjournal.com. And it looks like we have, oh man, we're the first person in here. So we might have a little while until this draft is officially loaded here. And so I'm just going to make this one a full screen over here, and we'll keep our eyes on that because we have some time there. And then let me just make this a little bit. Oh, so that's not shown. So let's pull up your questions here and get on into this. So Ravi asking, choose two full PPR, AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, Tyreek Hill. You got to go AJ Brown. That's a absolute no-brainer. A tier above the other guys, in my opinion. Ladd, a little bit worried here about the signing of Keenan Allen. I know Ladd's clearly the best guy, one of the most efficient rookie seasons, but we're talking about 111 targets last year. And I know AJ Brown doesn't see a whopping amount of targets in that run-heavy attack either, but he's at least the clear top dog. And Ladd is the top dog here. But we're talking about a very small aerial pie, 28th in pass attempts last year, 28th or fewer in 9 of 11 seasons for Greg Roman. And so now you add another mouth like Keenan Allen, who's always, whether deserved or not, demanded targets. Last time he was with the Chargers and Justin Herbert, he had 11 targets per game, averaged nearly 21 fantasy points per game. So to meet Ladd McConkey took a bit of a hit. Now, Tyreek Hill's also seemingly going nuts, like bashing his teammates, not showing up for time for stretches and things like that. Gun to my head, I'm definitely going to go AJ Brown, Ladd, I think. Even with the hit to Ladd, my question is, like, do you have to, Ravi, go through two receivers, or could you be looking at Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Chase Brown, for example? Yeah, that's it. So, Glenn, definitely a good point. I kind of mentioned that too. The Lions ranked top 10, but ultimately losing Rashawn Slater, that does not bode well, in my opinion, of course. So that does it worry me? Absolutely, that worries me. And so, yeah, I am a bit worried about him losing Rashawn Slater here. And so we'll see what the final prognosis is. I'm not 100% positive, but yes, I am a little bit concerned for sure. All righty, we're moving on to Glenn as well. Adding, will that affect him? Yes, it will, for sure. Good morning, Michael. Good to see you. Be sure to share the good word of Rashid Shaheed. You don't have to beg me to share about Rashid Shaheed. You know I love that guy, no doubt, for sure. So, yeah, very much into Rashid Shaheed. He is actually featured in the draft guide as one of my favorite sleepers, for sure, penny stocks at all. Josh Downs, stock down. Yeah, I guess a little bit of a stock down. I think if Daniel Jones, though, emerges as the quarterback, that's actually a win. One of the lowest ADOTs target areas of the field. That's where Josh Downs does his damage. So, Brett, I'm not going too big of a stock down there on Josh Downs myself. We got pick 8 here, by the way. So I'm just going to pull up this tab here so you guys can see the draft board. And we'll be drafting from the 8 spot as well. Doyle Murphy, my man, 8:30 a.m., so I have an excuse to procrastinate. Why you think I went live on a Friday? Everybody wants an excuse to procrastinate. We have drafts coming up, folks. Yeah, this is the good time of the year. Pop will have 1,000 if he stays healthy. Tunes, that seems bold, and honestly, I fully agree after what I saw at camp. He's going to be that next great slot. There was one quote that unfortunately was a fake account, but they tweeted out like DeMario Douglas made a comment. First it was Welker, first it was Edelman. What do you think some dark chocolate will do instead? Which unfortunately was not true, because if he had said that, it would have been like I'd rank him number 1 overall. But yeah, I do think he's absolutely going to kill it for sure. Dante Thornton looked like good the other day. Do you have any thoughts? Yeah, Dante Thornton, I guess he could have been easily included on this list, Tunes. Probably should have been included. One of my favorite sleepers so far. We're talking about a guy that averaged 25 yards per catch, 4'3" at 6'5". 3 other players have gotten even close to that. Actually, 2 other players, and that's Calvin Johnson and DK Metcalf, some elite company, clearly running with the ones, and last night running with the ones in the first preseason action while Jack Besh was ultimately playing in like the second half. And so, yes, Thornton it's got to be ranked ahead of Besh at this point. There's no doubt about that, whether redraft or dynasty. And ultimately, especially when you're playing best ball, the big plays with Dante Thornton, you're seeing 60-yard touchdowns at camp. Dudes, if I extend this list to 12 names, he should have been included. So great name to toss out there. Certainly a ranking riser as well. Would you take Henderson over Ramondre as far as pass running backs? Doyle, 110%. We do have to make our draft pick. I love Malik Neighbors. I know Puka is ranked ahead of him, but I'm going with Malik Neighbors myself. I just think, one, you got this concern with Stafford's back injury going on. And then 2, you got Malik Neighbors posting a top 5 all-time rookie fantasy points per game with legitimate dog water throwing him the ball. I mean, I don't like Russell Wilson. I don't know if it's a humongous upgrade, but it's an upgrade. And then if you do get Jameis Winston, if Jackson Dart's the real deal, Jameis is my prayers and hopes. Please give me Jameis, because Malik Neighbors might be the number 1 receiver in fantasy. Like I do think he is. Maybe not Jamar Chase level quite yet, but he is knocking on that door in terms of talent, in terms of separated ship, everything you want a receiver to do. I think Malik Neighbors is right there in the top 3 talents in the league, and just a mediocre bump in quarterback play, just a little bit more help from the offensive line. What we already saw him do as a rookie was insane, and he takes another step, so I love him. So I'll get back to that Henderson question. We're going to make our next pick here. And right now, the top in ADP are Derrick Henry's still lingering, and I'm just going to take the big dog, and we'll figure it out from there. We got Neighbors, Henry. What a great bookending start. You got your bell cow. You got that. The other top guys in ADP were Bowers and Taylor and McConkey. Maybe Bowers, yeah. You got that week 17 correlation with Neighbors too. Giants Raiders, like gross but shootout like shit fest I could see happening. I considered Taylor, but you got to go the big dog Henry over Jonathan Taylor. That was a gift, 4 spots below ADP. I'm loving Taylor. I heard this great argument from Scott Barrett about how the red zone rushing rate for or rather the red zone touchdown rate for, I'm just going to zoom out because I know it's a little bit, there we go. So you guys can get the full board here. Lamar had like a 49% red zone touchdown rate in terms of throwing, which is like the league average is 25%. His career average is 20%. So that regresses slightly. And those go to Derrick Henry. We could be talking about a 25 to 30 touchdown season. So I love that. But Doyle, to your question, yes, 110% I would take Henderson. Now, I do think Ramondre is the starter. I think he plays about 60% to start the year, right? That's what it looked like in the early camp rotation. But we're not playing for week 1. We're playing for titles, and we're playing for upside. And, I mean, Henderson pops. There was a couple drops. There's a few things that I didn't love about him. A beautiful back corner end zone throw from Drake Maye that should have been a beautiful catch. But the route was insane. The way he juked out the linebacker wheel, the usage, every time he was in, it seemed like he was touching the ball. I believe he touched the ball in exactly half of the snaps that he played. And every single time he touched it, it was like, wow, this guy is popping. Granted, he goes in a range with like RJ Harvey, who I like a little bit more. So I am not landing a ton of Henderson. He also goes like 3 or 4 rounds ahead of Ramondre, who's going to be the clear starter. And so I'm not opposed to either of these guys just because, as that rant told you, I think the Pats are all the way back, baby. Like I am all in on this dynasty being back. And so I think the run game is going to be effective. We've always seen McDaniels use a good committee, but especially use them as pass catchers. I have it in the guys, not off the top of my head, but I want to say, this very real like 90 target, 70 catch upside here with Henderson. What I love from Henderson too, pancake blocks Von Miller, starts a scrum that Mike Vrabel's diving in there, getting bloody with the boys. Like, it's just everything about it was Patriots all the way back. I'm all the way in. And so, yeah, everything is wheels up for the Pats right now. And Hampton goes just before me. I was going to say one of our risers, we could have it's sniped right there at 32, but sadly going right there before. And so I'm actually going to go with Lamar Jackson and just kind of monopolize the Baltimore number 1 scoring offense last year. I don't see any reason why they take a step back in 3rd year under Todd Monken. If anything, maybe they go a little crazier. Maybe the defense takes a step back and they have to be in a little bit more shootouts. And so I'm going to pair those guys up. But yeah, a lot to love about Henderson. The price is a little expensive. Like I called him a mild fade in the draft guide because he's going in late 5th, early 6th. But if he starts to trickle into the mid 6th, there is so much upside. This guy has everything going for him. My man Giuseppe, thank you so much. Everybody run and get that draft guide every year. It's so worth it, no matter the little price jump. I appreciate it. I did, and understandably, I'll say it's usually a bit cheaper than what I did, but I'm at the point, the first kiddo is here, and I got to have it be worth the time. I love doing this. I love making content for you guys. I love helping you win leagues, and I just love fantasy football. I'm beyond obsessed with it. And so I don't plan to slow down, but if I'm going to take time, I mean, I'd love just all the time I get to spend with Josie and Hillary even more. And so if I'm going to take time away from them, it does have to ultimately be financially worth it. Daycare is no joke. If I don't, I'm going to have to get a second job. And so I really hope this remains the second job. That would be awesome. I, at this pick, am looking at Rashee Rice, but he's probably going to get suspended. I want to bump up my George Pickens share, so I'm gonna go with Pickens here. I really, really like him. I know the price is a little much on DraftKings. I love Jamison Williams and DJ Moore in this range as well, but a guy I just don't have a lot of exposure to yet is George Pickens, and I think he's going to go bananas as the number 2. But yeah, I did do a little price jump, and you guys have been so amazing so far. The best first 2 days of sales we've ever had, despite a little bit of a price jump. So greatly appreciated. The reviews have been really nice. Too Insane Draft Guide's worth it. Got my copy. It's everything you need. Draft Guide's 100% worth it. So thank you guys so much. I promise I did not pay them to come in here and say that. You can go to rotostreetjournal.com. It will be the top thing on the menu if you are interested in purchasing that draft guide, supporting your boy, if you like what we do. Of course, a free way to do that is hitting that thumbs up, hitting the sub button as well, and following me over at RotoStreetWolf on Twitter. But if you want my fantasy soul, the draft guide is worth it. And we got Brian Martin saying Warren is going to feast. So yeah, talking about Ty Warren, who I absolutely love as one of my big risers. And so that wraps up the comments and questions so far. But guys, ask me anything. Happy to help you out, whether you have a keeper dilemma, whether you have your draft coming out, what should I do from the 7-hole, all that stuff. I'm happy to answer anything you've got while we draft as well and talk about some best ball here. Happy to help out in any way that I can. All righty. And so now we are looking at, so far through this draft, if you listen to the podcast, round 1, Malik Neighbors, round 2, Derrick Henry, round 3, Lamar Jackson, and round 4, George Pickens, where ultimately looking it through, Pat McMillan, I really was hoping Mike Evans would fall. Sometimes you see him dip into the 4th, and he's just looking as good as ever. And in hindsight, you see Jane Daniels falling to, right here, the pick 4, the 9th pick of the 4th round. That's an absolute steal. I know Terry McLaurin's not there right now. Maybe he doesn't end up coming back, but like Daniels is the type of guy that, yeah, McLaurin helps, no doubt about it. He's still going to get his no matter who he is playing with. And so I really like that value so far. I love George Kittle, but he creeping in the 3rd round. He was going around 4 or 5. I was hammering him every time. I would have hammered him for sure had he been there in round 4, but certainly not there this time. And now we got some running backs starting to go with Hubbard, Kamara, James Cook holding out on business. And so I'm going to go with Zay Flowers and stack up my quarterback. I was very tempted. You guys will probably decide if you're watching the stream, very tempted for Travis Hunter. Sounds like he's Liam Cohen tossing out that number of 80% of the snaps the other day. It was just a podcast, a random comment, throwing it kind of off the cuff. That got me moving. that achieved some blood flow for sure. And so I really, really like Travis Hunter. He could have been another one of these risers in the preseason. Apparently just looking so good on both sides of the ball. Doesn't run out of energy ever. So yeah, I really, really like him. And now at this point, a few guys I'm looking at are Deebo Samuel. He was mossing people at Pat's camp. If Terry does hold out, what are we going to do? RJ Harvey, Mr. 5th on the depth chart. Please, if you're overreacting to that, come on. Sean Payton, he always plays these games with his rookies. It is the most valuable backfield when Sean Payton has some quality talent there, and he sure does. And, of course, RJ Harvey goes. That's the guy I was truly queuing up. And we had Ricky Pearsall go, who I was also looking at. So I am going to go with Deebo, who I'm trying to keep bumping the exposure to. And the off chance that McLaurin doesn't show up, we're talking about a guy that should have been going in round 3 as a true number 1. I saw him in camp. I won't say he looked slim, but he was moving very, very well. And like I said, he mossed the defenders in 7-on-7 red zone work. And so I could see it. And I could see this guy. The more, what if he gets traded? You'll see. So Crow saying Pickens at 4 or 5. Yikes. I'd love to hear your negativity on him because everything I'm reading right now is he is dominating. To me, I look at it like a round or two discount on T. Higgins. Maybe I'm higher on Pickens. I always have loved the guy. He just blocks people out of the club, which I know you don't get any points for. But I love the way he plays. And all the talk so far in camp is they're making him more of a yak threat. They're getting him deep every play. You're doubling CeeDee Lamb. There's not a route or a corner that Pickens can't beat when you try to overplay CeeDee Lamb. And so I think this Cowboys offense ripe to lead the NFL in pass attempts. You look at the backfield. I mean, it is. I love Jadon Blue. Spoiler for the guy, one of my favorite guys in all of fantasy this year as a value. But I think this team is going to be chucking it early and often, and all the praise so far is Pickens. I am intrigued, though. It wasn't like a pick where I'm like, this is a slam dunk windmill. Get Pickens in here. It was more so quick, like 10 seconds. Okay, got to see who's up there. I want more Pickens in my portfolio here because he is the type of guy, when you're playing best ball especially, you're getting the best points of everybody, right? And there are weeks, it happened just 2 seasons ago, where Pickens scored 35 in week 16. And if you didn't have Pickens, you didn't make it to the finals where all the money is, right? And so in best ball, that's why some of these receivers who he's going, round 7 in redraft, where I love him. But you see these guys jump 2 to 3 rounds in best ball price because you're playing this tournament. You need the spike weeks. And so, yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear your take why you're against Pickens, who you might have looked. You see the draft board here, who you might have preferred in that range. But in best ball, you do see a pretty wide difference in terms of wide receiver pricing and running back pricing. And there's a lot of running backs I think I can land in these later rounds to balance it out here, especially when you have an anchor, what we call the hero running back there with Derrick Henry too. And so, yeah, I'd love to know, though, who else you'd look at, what else you might be considering here. And so it's coming down to the wire here for my pick here at 80. And a few names that I'm looking at, Caleb Johnson falling for the Steelers here. I do love Jaylen Warren, a great pass protector, probably the number 1 running back, but Caleb Johnson looks phenomenal in some of the clips I've seen as well. I don't think there should be a 2 to 3 round price gap between them, but if Johnson, whose ADP is 68, is falling to 80, then there is no more gap. David Montgomery is also there, and so Caleb Johnson does go just ahead of me. Jordan Addison is very, very tempting, but I do want to get a nice, sturdy running back too with, top 5 upside should anything ever happen to Jahmyr Gibbs. And so I pass on the falling value of Addison. If I had, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, Addison would have been a no-brainer. But based on this team structure, I wanted to go and lean into that. I'm just going to queue up some guys here. I love Jordan Mason for the Vikings. Think he could be a touchdown maven. I like TJ Hawkinson a lot at tight end. Jaden Higgins, an exciting rookie name here for our next pick coming up here. But again, any questions, comments, whatever you guys have, do let me know as we rip through this Best Ball Mania draft here, taking a shot at $2 million. And if you've not played here, it is the absolute best. You can use code RSJ or the link in the description for up to $1,000 in bonus credits. I wish I could get an offer like that again because I would make sure to get the full 1,000. So definitely check that out. It is so fun. This is a $25 draft with a shot at a $2 million, $22.5 million grand prize, over $15 million in total prizes as well. But they do plenty of $3 tournaments, $5 tournaments. They call them the puppies, the Pomeranians. If you don't want to, and understandably so, for $25 at every single draft. There is plenty of cheaper tournaments, more friendly tournaments as well. Alrighty, so we are on the clock again, and Godwin's still there. Brian Robinson, though, I like Jacory Croskey-Merritt, but he did look pretty solid, like the clear number 1. So I am going to go with B-Rob here and kind of just keep stacking into the running back room. You got Henry, Montgomery, B-Rob. I think I'm going to get sturdy running back 2 production between Montgomery and Robinson every week with some flex potential as well. And then there's some later guys, the Tyrone Tracy's. I love J.K. Dobbins as well. That could give me a nice 4th running back too and really fill this room out quite nicely. But I do want to keep stacking up Lamar. So Mark Andrews is going to be on the radar. Rashad Bateman, my boy, Doyle Murphy's special over there, Rashad Bateman. But yeah, tight end is going to be a consideration. So far through the first 8 rounds, we've gone 1 quarterback, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, those being in order. Malik Neighbors, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, George Pickens, Zay Flowers, Deebo Samuel, David Montgomery, and Brian Robinson. This round 8 area is tricky. I do like when TJ Hawkinson falls, gives me a safe thing. Sometimes you get like a Packers receiver falling. Certainly in DraftKings, they fall a ton. But this is a tricky round. I think Jaden Higgins brings a lot of upside as a rookie receiver. And we see Godwin really falling here all the way to the 9th round now. And that's an interesting one. The number 2 wide receiver in total fantasy points per game when he was healthy. Absolute beast. But now you had Emeka Egbuka, who is just looking like the next star, according to Mike Evans, according to Baker Mayfield, according to the head coach, according to everybody. Egbuka is like light years ahead of where anybody could have expected him to be. There goes Mark Andrews, unfortunately. Maybe I should have considered him there in the 8th round over Brian Robinson just to make sure I got the stack. And then looking ahead, do these guys have tight ends? We have a Kittle team. We have a Hawkinson team. There goes Dobbins, who I would have really liked there. And so I'm going to be looking at one of my big risers that I was talking about earlier, and that's Tyler Warren, if he makes it to me here. We shall see. But there's also Brandon Ayuk, a little banged up. So Tyler Warren does ultimately fall. I'm going to scoop him on up. I do love Evan Ingram, who's still lingering at tight end as well. But I'd prefer Ty Warren at this point, based on what we've seen, based on the preseason hype, the camp reports. Definitely intrigued there. And there goes Evan Ingram. Nice ADP value there, who I would have been very intrigued. Yeah, MKE, good to see you, brother. I know we have chatted back and forth a lot on Twitter there. I think Andrews in the 8th there probably makes more sense, especially because I'm trying to add a bit more of Jacory Croskey-Merritt to close out drafts. So I don't want that going at all. So we got Crow. Thank you for commenting into what you would have done. Hunter Rice. Yeah, Rice might have been. So if it ends up being a 1 to 3 game suspension, and I am up to pick. So let's dive in a second here. I'm going to stack up Rashad Bateman and just keep adding some weapons there. Luther Burden, very intriguing to me as well in this range. But I'll keep the Lamar stack building out here for sure. But yeah, if Rice ends up being 1 to 3 games, then he's a no-brainer there. I'm worried the fact that Addison got 3 and Rice's charges are significantly worse. He's got live. I forget the exact wording between it, but there's far more elevation because there were lives at risk, and his jail sentence was higher. Everything was much worse for Rashee Rice. So I'm worried he gets 6 to 8, and even then, like in round 4, you could tell yourself that you might take Scary Terry. Okay, maybe, but what if he doesn't play at all? That's the kind of risk. And yeah, Hall, if I had known, if hindsight's 50-50, Crow, had I known that Daniels would have been there, yeah, I probably would have considered Breece Hall there too. I absolutely get where you're coming from. But we can't, there's no way to know that at the time. He typically, the price-wise, Jay Daniels does not go as far as he did. I thought that value was insane where he ended up falling to. And so, yeah, in hindsight, would that team have been preferable? Maybe, sure. But I love the round 3 Lamar, round 5 Zay Flowers stack. I think that's one of the cheat codes that you can pull off this year. I think it was Pat Crane I heard talking about that recently. I was like, yeah, I've been doing that all summer. I'm glad a former million maker winner feels that as well. I do think Travis Hunter is a great name to toss out there too. But I knew he might be there in round. I should have, in hindsight, I do have Hunter higher than Pickens. And knowing that I wanted Flowers in the 5th, I could have either taken Flowers in the 4th and just locked it up and then gone Hunter, or flip those two as well. But I really do love Pickens, and I think his blow-up upside, you might be undervaluing just a little bit, Crow. But thanks for giving some names and sticking with it and commenting in. Fearful asking, is this a mock? No, this is a Best Ball Mania draft. So ADP is a little bit different than what you can expect. Burden, who I was targeting, does go right ahead of me. And so I do like Marvin Mims. I'm just going to queue him up Trying to see if there's any like stacks for my QB2 I should be looking into. I don't see any, so I'll just take another receiver with blow up weekly upside here in Marvin Mims. Trey Harris would have been a slam dunk, but questionable volume here moving forward. So now we got 1, 3, 6, 1. I do need a quarterback. I was intrigued potentially by Trevor Lawrence there and just backstacking him later in the draft because he's probably not going to make it past the Brian Thomas owner there. You guys know Jadon Blue is my boy at this point. This is one of the nice parts, though, about an elite quarterback is if it ends up being quarterback 2, Bryce Young, Tua, Cam Ward. Like, I'm fine with it because I'm banking on Lamar being my quarterback for 12 out of 17 weeks, if not 14, you know. So, yeah, this is why you can wait. And so maybe I get a Leggett in Bryce Young stack. I don't feel a ton of pressure to go in at quarterback right now. But no, this is not a mock. This is a $25 BBM grand prize, $2 million, $2,500,000 there. So yeah, I like that. Montgomery or Swift in a half PPR league. I am leaning Montgomery there as Ben Johnson's clear go-to guy. All right, so we got to make a pick. Blue does unfortunately go. This would be early for Leggett, but I just don't like Kincaid. I don't want Javonte Williams at all. Dylan Sampson actually is intriguing. Let me see if I can get that up. I didn't get him up in time. And that's okay. I'm not like he's running the 1B right now to Jerome Ford, who goes 20 picks later. So we'll see what Sampson looks like. He could end up really popping this preseason. DeMario Douglas would have been a nice one to sneak in too. But I did want to set up a stack, and Xavier Leggett will let me do that most likely. That was a forced pick. I do like Josh Palmer. I'm just going to get my queue ready because I was not fully ready. I was kind of reading the comments, and boom, we're up and going. Braelon Allen, a running back, as we talked about, that I like. Hunter Henry, Jerome Ford. So there's plenty of guys to fill this in with. Zach Ertz at tight end, he was carving up the Pats. If there's like one guy that bought for them, is weirdly the 36-year-old or whatever he is at this point. All righty. I can get back on into the comments. So not a mock. I am going to go Swift over them, over Montgomery, just because he's looking like the clear featured back. Monungai is impressing, but Ben Johnson has history with him. We know that this offense, number one in expected and total fantasy points, the Lions, and that's what's going to be inspiring the scheme. So I like Swift a lot. The line improvements were huge. I think he's one of the better values of this year. If Rice Smoke Potter gamble, then he gets a year. Yeah, isn't it insane? The NFL, Crow. That's why it is like, yeah, maybe he doesn't even get a suspension. Like, you put someone's life in danger, speeding 200 miles and almost killing somebody. Yeah, we'll slap you on the wrist. But you smoke pot, God forbid you enjoy the legal drug here. Good Lord, you better not see the field. Poor Josh Gordon. My God, what a career got derailed there. Scary Terry will play. He's not sitting out and losing millions. Probably not. Yeah. Either way, I get where you're coming from on all your takes too. I often do go Rice there as well. So it's mostly just trying to diversify a little bit in case the suspension is bigger than we expect or whatnot. I can't go on every single one, can I? Right. All righty. So we are up. I really like Douglas. I'm trying to look ahead here at quarterback. 2-2-2. So Pickles could end up sniping me on that. But even again, like, okay, I'll go with Tua at that point. So I'm going to go DeMario Douglas, wrap up my receivers here. I got my 8. And this is kind of how I love attacking drafts is if you end the drafts attacking running backs and tight ends. I think there are tons of great values at that. Whereas the receivers, Tory Horton now popping up. Sure, there's some value potentially there. Maybe this is where I should start to consider Javonte Williams, 20 picks past ADP. It just diversify because I have so much Jadon Blue. But this is where I really like. I think there's just so many good rookie running back values. And like I said, Tory Horton, a few intriguing wide receiver sleepers are starting to pop up a little bit. But you got Brashard Smith. Here's Jacory Croskey-Merritt. You got so many rookie running backs that intrigued me late that I love to stack my portfolio with. I do think I really don't mind either Henry, Montgomery, like Robinson. That's a good, dependable I'm going to get solid RB2 production out of those bottom two, and Henry's just my steamroller all year. So I really have no issue waiting to round out this room with another 2 or even 3. Bryce Young does get sniped from me, which is quite annoying. Did not expect that. So sorry for whoever has Geno stacks. I'm going to just backfill him later. Maybe Dante Thornton, just go 9 receivers at this point. But I got to get a backup quarterback. And once Stafford's back, don't trust it. Sam Darnold, who knows if he's going to end up lasting the full year as the starter. So I'm just going to pluck Geno Smith, backup quarterback, and hopefully get Dante Thornton a little bit later here to round up the receiver room. We might be looking at a 2-5-9-2 build. That's kind of how this one seems to be shaping out for me. Geno does play into the week 17 as well with Malik Neighbors. So I'd like to get a weapon for him. There goes Thornton, unfortunately. So we might be going naked Geno, folks. So Crow asking about Judkins here. And I am at the point where I'm just not taking him, and I understand the upside, but he might not play it down this year. And so what's the point of taking the risk? I like attacking the Cleveland backfield with Sampson, with Ford. I think they're nice prices, but to me, I don't draft Judkins at all right now because very real chance he doesn't play. Plus, it's just the whole karma aspect, getting arrested for a horrific domestic assault case. The report was awful on it, and it's like, yeah, I don't think I need those guys in my locker room. I don't think that's going to be the guy that he could love the athleticism, love the size, speed, love the bell cow role he was projected for. But then you get just these horrific reports coming about him, and it's like, yeah, I can put that all to the side. I don't think he's going to be the one on the milli watch. Whoever wins the $2 million is going to have him on the roster. But to me, I'm good. I'm set. Not my taste. I do wish. So where I went, Marvin Mims. I thought Jadon Blue's latest injury might allow him to come back. I was kind of playing a little too cute. I should have gone Jadon Blue over Mims, gotten my guy, my sleeper of the year in this roster. Still don't hate it. A lot of blow-up upside each week at wide receiver, and I'd like Mims, but in hindsight, I'd rather have a 4th running back by now, and I'd rather have it be a guy I absolutely love. And now I might look into Isaiah Likely. I'm going to just star. But I'm just looking to see Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Maybe I take both Commanders backs, and I got B-Rob starting early in the year, and then ultimately Merritt comes in and takes over down the stretch. Don't love doing that, especially if I am only going to take 5 running backs, which probably won't be the case now that Thornton got sniped. But I think that's totally fine to own the backfield and see kind of what happens here and just monopolize. I know Jane Daniels soaks up the vast majority of fantasy points there, but ultimately, if Merritt is the next Bucky Irving, we still saw Rashad White popping up for useful games as well. 5th highest scoring offense to own that entire backfield and take whatever points. Of course, Eckler, he's going to be the hero there, right? But I like that. I like that move for sure. And so I'll probably wrap up tight end and just hope the Isaiah Likely foot thing isn't too bad. Could make week 1 is the report there, but it is a tough recovery. Still, though, they're talking about him, let's make him money we love. And so stack him up. Oh, never mind. There he goes. And then goes Elijah Arroyo, the other tight end I was looking at. I do like Chig and Jatavian Sanders have been getting a ton of buzz lately. So I can go with either of these guys at tight end and feel okay. I do love adding Cowboys running backs, and Woody Marks is very intriguing. Will Shipley looking good. Brashard Smith had a finger injury. I think I got to get a backup tight end. I'm going to lean with Okonkwo. Great chemistry with Ward so far. You caught the most pass out of anybody in early camp, and it looks like his next Arroyo, who Ward was playing with at Miami. So I like Chig there. I think that's an intriguing pick. Looking back here, the only picks I don't love are Leggett. I think I would have preferred another running back, Jadon Blue there, and Leggett, maybe Sampson instead. Would have been nice. But hey, Bigsby Tootin. I usually go Bigsby Tootin and Jadon Blue, so I kind of froze up. It's like automatic one of those two in those two picks, if not both of them. And so I got a little frozen there. Braelon Allen even over Leggett would have been really nice on this team. So that's the hindsight. I wish I had taken Braelon Allen well ahead of ADP instead of Leggett well ahead of ADP. I do like Leggett. He's flashing in camp, making tons of like long touchdown catches and all the after the catch stuff that you love the guy for is certainly showing. But still would have preferred another running back there. But I do love, again, I'm open to drafting now Will Shipley, Brashard Smith, two of my favorite sleepers. Taj Brooks is sitting out there, the clear number 2 in the Bengals. Keaton Mitchell, why not get my Raven? I love Keaton Mitchell, who we talked about earlier. If I have Derrick Henry, I don't know if I want Keaton Mitchell, because if Keaton Mitchell has value, it means something bad happened to Henry and this team's not winning anyways. But, Miles Sanders maybe starting running back for the Cowboys. I can do that at 200. He's lost some steam because of an injury. I will probably wrap this up with 2 running backs. Get a classic 2-6-8-2. It's like my favorite way to typically build these teams here. Yeah, I'll hedge on my Jadon Blue love, my huge 50% blue exposure, and add Sanders, and then wrap up with like a Brashard Smith, DJ Gaines. I mean, I could add Keaton Mitchell. And Justice Hill is actually pretty well correlated with Lamar. Caught 3 touchdowns last year. If Justice Hill has a big day, it's usually coming from Lamar. So he's not even a bad add here. Even if you have a Derrick Henry, you can still get some value out of Brashard Smith. Kyle Monungai, another guy, the clear number 2 for the Bears. Maybe he becomes the David Montgomery there. They were saying it was Roschon for a while, but now he's hurt, dealing with an injury. I could also just add, Hopkins 20 picks past ADP, go 2.592. Apparently he's looked good in camp, mentoring the young receivers. Or maybe I go to add a third time. There's a lot of routes because Jatavian's been getting a ton of steam in camp. And especially I love Warren. Konku's a sketchy-ish backup. I might go that route. But Brashard Smith, one of my favorite running back sleepers, is still on the board. And so, I don't know. I have a hard time getting away from him. I know he had a little finger injury, but he just looks like the next Jerick McKinnon, one of my favorite penny stocks of the year. Very overweight to him and very happy to be so. Yeah, I'm just going to keep stuffing the Brashard Smith bag. And hopefully that injury is nothing there. And so we ultimately wrap up with a 2-6-8-2, which is typical. I do have a bit more 3 QB builds this year, but when you get Lamar early, I don't want to force in a third quarterback. It seems like the law of diminishing returns type of thing. So we got Neighbors Henry round 2, Lamar Jackson round 3, Pickens 4th, which I know got a little bit of questions from the crowd, and understandably so. I love Ken Walker. He's a guy I could have considered there, jumping a little early now that he doesn't make it there. In the 5th, I love JMO. I think JMO is like the one that I probably should have gone. But I want more Pickens. He is a guy that can win any single week for you. And I don't have a ton of him. We got Zay Flowers. We got Debo. So solid, explosive wide receiver core despite taking some detours early on from the position. Still getting Montgomery and Robinson as my running back 2 flex potential. Warren, a big riser. I got him about 20 picks past where I normally where I have him ranked. Bateman stacking up the quarterback. And this is where it got a little sloppy. Would have loved Burden. I kind of had him like, oh man, slam dunk, windmill him in. And then Mims. But Mims has been the clear number 2. Wish I had gone Jadon Blue there, or I had gone Sampson over Leggett, or Braelon Allen, honestly, over maybe even either of them. And no, Jadon Blue for sure. Right here. Like that would have made me feel better about my running back room. Have a little bit more upside. I still like the Merritt, Sanders, Smith, if I'm not going to get Blue, I'll take Sanders and say, okay, he's the one. Someone in the Cowboys backfield will have some value, you think. And then ultimately Douglas, Geno, just a pure naked backup. I got sniped on Bryce Young. And so, yeah, not bad though. Chigo Konku back up to Ty Warren. So this team really is banking on Warren being that hog that we saw. Not my favorite team I've ever drafted, but not the worst team. I don't think it's going to win the $2 million, but hey, you never know. Maybe it will. Fun way to show like a Ravens stack, at least how to build a Ravens team. And again, thank you guys so much for those of you that's still around. You know, almost 675 of you. That's not bad. That's no joke. We are in the heat of it. So thank you so much. RotoStreetJournal.com is where you can find all my content. My rankings are free. The draft guide is up. Any support there is so greatly. I would really, I think it's well worth the money. Everybody that buys it says that they think it's well worth the money. But don't take my word for it. Give it a look. See if you like it. And I will, of course, refund you if you do not enjoy the content of that. But it is the hardest I work on anything any given year. And so I hope you guys check it out. I really do think it's the draft guide there. So thank you again so much, guys, for being here. Enjoy your weekends. I think me and Mo might be hopping on a stream at some point to do a draft. Now he's back from Mexico to get some best ball in this weekend. But next week, going to be going live at 8 a.m. pretty much almost every day. We got the sleepers. We got that. So if you haven't already subbed to the channel, hit that like button on the way out. We have a ton of fantasy content between here and your drafts. And I cannot wait for the season. More excited now than ever before. In a world full of fantasy sheep, guys, be the wolf.